The eponymous princess finally gets her chance to shine in Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, using knowledge instead of strength in the hopes of saving the kingdom of Hyrule. After the near infinite well of surprises provided by The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, by comparison, playing through Zelda Echoes of Wisdom feels much like cozying up with a nice warm blanket. Because sure, while the version of Hyrule featured in this traditional top-down Zelda might be more compact and familiar, it isn't any less intriguing to pick away at. It helps that the game is an actual Zelda game, with the titular princess finally made playable for the first time in a mainline series entry. Far from a cheap gimmick though, Nintendo has lovingly capitalized on such an occasion by presenting a joyous world to explore that also doubles up as a creative toolset. And while it might not be the giant leap forward this blend of ideas old and new may suggest, it's still a delightful twist to the nearly 40-year-old formula that is equal parts inventive and charming. From a pure story perspective, it's fair to say that Zelda Echoes of Wisdom won't be winning any awards. A world-tearing calamity appears at the beginning of the game to see Hyrule's various regions ripped apart and separated by purple rifts. Said rifts cause our typical hero, Link, to be swallowed up whole and rendered out of action, leaving the responsibility of saving the kingdom to Princess Zelda. Alongside her fairy companion Tri and magical echo summoning Tri-Rod, she must then defeat the source of this new evil. As far as setups go, I'd say it just about gets the job done. Yet I'd be lying if I said that there weren't a few twists in the tale that I didn't see coming. For the most part, however, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom plays it safe from a narrative perspective, instead having the way you push the plot forward be the main means in which Zelda herself gets a refreshing chance to shine. The way she primarily does so, of course, is through her core ability to summon the eponymous echoes when wanting to solve any combat or puzzle solving scenario. Almost every monster and item of interest you come across out in the world can be summoned once you find and learn its essence, resulting in a far more creative way to get around in what is otherwise a fairly conventional The Legend of Zelda adventure. Summoning the echo of a flying keys to battle snake-like ropes from above, for instance, negates the need for sword swipes entirely, while placing a trampoline onto a bed and then hopping up to it to reach a seemingly out-of-reach location instantly renders the entire map your playground. Zelda does eventually gain the ability to mimic Link's traditional moveset via what's called sword fighter form, but this can never be relied upon entirely. The sheer number of echo combinations Zelda can make use of is nothing less than staggering, and various times during my 20 or so hours in Echoes of Wisdom did I find myself experimenting with what echoes worked best with each other, depending on my situation. Doing this was what made it immediately clear that every dungeon and area of the map has been designed with multiple solutions in mind by Nintendo, to the point that you can sometimes skip past entire circumstances that, in other Zelda games, would have a predefined path of progression through the use of one specific item or another. Your options only continue to grow the more echoes you collect further into the game too, even if a lot of echoes I found later on merely mimic the purpose of ones I'd found previously, just in a much more efficient manner. Because of the sheer variety found in each echo, it makes sense that Nintendo elects to limit how much you can summon in the early hours. Every echo is assigned an amount of energy needed to generate it, you see, relating to the number of pieces that make up Tri's tail. Leaving this limitless would have no doubt caused the Switch to struggle whenever you try to fill the screen with endless spear moblins after all. And besides, initially withholding the number of echoes Zelda can summon simultaneously also makes improving these skills, either by lessening the amount of energy certain echoes require or straight up improving Tri's energy, makes unlocking Zelda's full potential in the late game even more fulfilling. Outside of the echo system, much about Zelda's first mainline outing will feel familiar to players fond of the franchise's other top-down adventures. Most noticeably, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake. That 2019 redo gave the original Game Boy Adventure a claymation-like makeover, which returns here in full force with great aplomb. Though the game does regularly suffer from the same slowdown and frame rate stutters whenever moving from one particularly dense location to another, every area from the always raining Faron wetlands to the snowy Hebra mountains appear rich in colour and detail, packed with new echoes to discover and side missions that usually have Zelda assisting locals in need. A stamp collecting minigame further rounds out the believability of this Hyrule being a good cause to make me want to explore even more. Obviously, a return to this more classic style of Zelda game also means that dungeons are placed firmly at the forefront. It's in this regard that I'm pleased to report that Zelda Echoes of Wisdom doesn't disappoint. Whether it's navigating through a giant ice cave by melting and refreezing water features as needed, or how to best float over lava using the littered around bursts of air, all the main 7 features featured boast a unique gimmick that had me chaining echo combinations in creative ways. Interestingly, it's the last dungeon before the final boss that's the weakest of the bunch, if only because of what new it has you doing compared to any Zelda dungeon before it. Not just in this game, but almost in the entire series. Without giving too much away, it has you wielding Zelda's summon abilities in a rub your head, pat your belly kind of way. Problem is, it doesn't spend the time to fully develop on this idea and is so unique compared to any other featured, it just feels jarring. Overall though, there's a decent selection of dungeons to get stuck into. While it's true that echo summoning is full of potential, it also has its limits, as proven by that last pesky dungeon and many of the 127 featured echoes doubling up for one another. This, combined with the Nintendo Switch continuing to show its age via some less than ideal technical performance, holds Zelda Echoes of Wisdom back from achieving true legendary status. However, Zelda's time in the spotlight is still a refreshing and often surprising top-down adventure that, thanks to its central idea, comfortably stands apart from what's come before. We at Mirror Gaming give Zelda Echoes of Wisdom a 4 out of 5. Do you plan on picking this up, and are you excited to summon as much as you can? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below, and consider subscribing to the Mirror Gaming YouTube channel to stay up to date with even more videos like this. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.